Apparently my video the other day criticizing Canyon Mim's so-called 60-second takedown of Christianity flew over people's heads. I guess my responses were a little too subtle for what I was trying to get at. I don't know. So here is something to make it a bit clearer.
I can prove you that Christianity is not real, and it was actually created by Paul, and it's Paulism in less than a minute.
Alright, so he claims 60 seconds to disprove Christianity, but for the slow people out there, my points were that everything he says directly invalidates Muhammad himself. Just watch.
Paul never met Jesus, but he claims to know everything about him.
The Paul claim straight away. Paul was around and alive during Jesus' ministry. He just didn't follow Jesus. He was there holding the coats when Stephen was martyred, which we see in the beginning of the book of Acts. So he was alive and old enough to be participating in these things soon after the death and resurrection of Jesus. So while he didn't follow him as a disciple at that point, clearly he knew about this new sect, the followers of the way, as they were called, and would have known enough about Jesus and his teachings to want to go out there with such zeal to persecute and arrest the Christians. And then later, when he's on his way to do the arresting and persecuting, Jesus, the risen Jesus, appears to him on the road to Damascus in a vision and blinds him and tells him that he's actually persecuting Jesus, etc., etc. So yes, his actual interaction properly with Jesus was the risen Christ, not in his earthly ministry, but that doesn't really change anything about him not knowing about Jesus, because he still lived within the lifetime of Jesus and the disciples, unlike Muhammad.
Paul claimed that his revelations were divine and that they didn't actually come from him.
This is why his argument just gets more and more ridiculous, because he's saying that Paul claims his revelations were divine and originate with him. He wasn't making it up, but he was repeating or saying what he felt revealed to him as a criticism, yet this is exactly what Muhammad did. He was saying everything that he said was a revelation that came from Allah. It's even in the Quran that says this. Surah 53, verses 3 and 4. I'll put it on the screen for you to see.
Paul also rarely quoted Jesus, and he introduced many key teachings that Jesus never taught.
And again, ironically, this is where this video starts getting silly, because Muhammad in the Quran claims many things about Jesus that were never taught. They don't even have a remote parallel in the New Testament that you could say, oh, it's similar. It's things like Jesus speaking from the crib as a baby, making a bird out of clay, bringing it to life, bringing down a heavenly table, and having some interrogation scene at Judgment Day with God about denying his divinity, and Mary as a divinity or a goddess. I mean, that itself is really weird. Some of these things are only found in later apocryphal texts from 2nd, 3rd, 4th century. So it just shows the Quran is a mishmash of apocryphal teachings and misunderstood New Testament teachings. And Muhammad's applying these to Jesus. And then this guy has the audacity to say that Paul made stuff up.